And you mentioned that you wanted to kind of share some thoughts from your cast and crew, who obviously can't be here today, but would you like to do that?
Yes, some of, since we have this, we're focusing on the African diaspora, and some of them identify as African Brazilians, I thought it would be interesting to see what they have to say. First was, it's 4 people, so I'll have to paraphrase, I won't be able to quote the, first is Renata Oliveira, which is our makeup artist. She just said, Black Lives Matter. Okay, there's a little bit of context. Just a couple weeks ago, Agatha, an 8-year-old black girl, was murdered by a police officer going to school in her school uniform instead of a school bus in Rio. It's a very strict, almost martial law being applied by the governor of Rio de Janeiro right now in Brazil. And we have, so far this year, I guess 16 or 17 black kids were murdered going or coming back from school in favelas. So this is what she's talking about. Clayton Nascimento is the turncoat actor. He's referring to this as well, and he's just saying that both culture and education in Brazil right now are under threat, and obviously people that such as he are black, LGBTQ+, or from the outskirts of the cities. These are the endangered group, and the film in a way depicts. The film depicts with Gabriel what he finds important, a black protagonist who is a student, an arts student, and this to him is very important because this is rarely the way that black people are portrayed in Brazil. So this matter of representation. And in Brazil, he said, we're fighting so that our black children can go to school without being murdered, and may our film give voice to this fight. Then Mirtes Santana, who is a production assistant in the film, she's saying that during the administrations of Lula and Dilma, the past administrations before Bolsonaro, we had affirmative actions, and which are regressing now in Bolsonaro's administration, obviously. And many of these black students, they were the first generation to have access to universities as a result of this. So Gabriel is in this context, the character. So he is having access to this space of erudition that was always reserved for white, privileged, bourgeois people. So to her, there's at least 3 layers of activism that Gabriel symbolizes. Black activism, left-wing activism, and also artistic activism. So he encompasses all this. So André and Gabriel, they overlap in some of their objectives as characters, but they take different routes just because of intersectionality. Last one. And Jamile Nunes, she's another actor in the film. She said that to her, the film has to do with what the people are protesting for in Brazil at the moment. And she finds it a piece of necessary art, urgent, that she wishes that won't stop to exist because it can go a long way.
Thank you very much for getting them to give some thoughts as well.
My pleasure.
I appreciate that. So Zinzi, I wanted to we talked at the debate again about sound, but I wanted you to kind of bring that. I kind of wish it was louder in this space, but yeah, could you talk a little bit about the sound in the work?